Brace yourselves. We're outside. It's gonna be okay. We're just remaining in my backyard. It's gonna be okay. But it is winter. Winter's terrible. So why am I outside? I just really want to feel like I'm accomplishing something, I guess. How are you today? Color Swift in the comments of last week's video said that she's doing bullet journaling and she loves it, and it's like she's getting things done. What'd you say? She's getting things done without the stress of not getting things done. So like when you don't get things done, it's not stressful. And that's it. Okay, we're on day 25 of bullet journaling. If you don't know, bullet journaling, basically it's there's a specific origin for it and a specific way to do it, but people have made it their own. It's basically just planning. It's basically just an effective way of writing down the things you have to do and keeping track of the things you've done. But it's like a specific method involving writing it in an actual journal. I'm doing it in a digital journal though, but on an iPad I'm writing. I'm just doing it digitally because I hate paper, I guess. Or maybe I love trees, you could say. Or maybe I just I enjoy the convenience of not having to get paper, and also I can undo things that I wrote because I have terrible handwriting and I often write things I don't want to write and then I scribble them out. And so I've been keeping track, and I mean, it's not a whole lot changed since last week, but I haven't been getting a whole lot done the past week. But you know why? Because I don't really have as much to get done. Well, I mean, there's always things I could work on. And I'm always aware of that. I'm more aware of that now because of the bullet journal, because I wrote it down and I'm keeping track. But I'm so aware of the things that I absolutely need to get done. Like I'm planning a Wheezy video. My next Wheezy video is going to come out in March. Because I'm going to stop swinging. Many of you say you get motion sick if I'm swinging while doing these. Which is, why do people like living in cold places? Probably is what it'll be called. But that doesn't need to be done until March, and then the one after that will be about bullet journaling. But I know, because I know that, I'm so aware of that, I'm planning all these other projects I want to get done, and I realize there's so much time. I actually have a lot of time, so I'm just enjoying that time and not feeling guilty about all the things I have to get done. It's basically just because I'm writing things down, because I'm planning. That's it. It's that simple. I'm just planning. But bullet journaling, because it's so specific how to do it, it makes it easier to start planning, I guess. Because in the past I've tried to plan things like, well, I guess I'll just write down the stuff I gotta do. Gotta do that. I gotta do that at this time. I gotta do that at this time. But with bullet journaling now, I'm planning a whole year, and then I'm planning a whole month, and then I'm planning a whole week, and also tracking habits. Like I'm tracking out how many each day when I read or run or don't have alcohol or don't have sugar, all in the same place. So I can have them, and I think it's really important to have the way to zoom out and see the whole month, or zoom in to see the day, to put everything into context all the time, because I can be a worrier about getting things done. If there's pending things, it's a distraction. So whenever I work on one thing, I'm worried about all the other things I'm not working on. FOMO, fear of missing work. And I'm always constantly reminding myself of it so I don't forget. Like, oh, I gotta get that done. Well, I gotta get that done. And that is just adds stress. But if I write it down and I know, well, this doesn't have to be done until this day, this doesn't have to be done until this day, then I don't worry about it. And I shouldn't worry about it anyway. That's silly. Because I shouldn't be worrying about things I can't really do right now because I'm doing something else. And bullet journaling helps me realize that. So the past week, I've been not doing as much, been a little bit lazier, been drawn into the news very hard, because obviously we got a whole new president now, so I'm very intrigued by all the things happening, even though I don't need to spend that much time. I mean, anyone can do whatever they want and spend their time however they want. I mean, everything, the value in an activity is relative. But looking back, I'm always like, why did I spend so much time looking at Twitter? Why did I spend so much time reading about this one issue that I'm going to have no effect on? And this past week, I've been doing that, but I'm okay with it. Like, I feel like I have time. I'm still getting things done that I need to. And I'm going to bring it back. I'm going to rein it back in pretty soon. I've written the first episode of my parents' journey for the Why Do People... It'll be in the Why Do People Like Living in Cold Places video, but it's going to be the beginning of a story that's going to last the whole year. I have to write the rest of them. That's one thing I'd like to have done before I start doing the videos, so that it's all planned out and nice. But we'll see. I've been covering some... my friend Nate, bandmate, drummer of Driftless Pony Club, sent along some drum tracks for some covers of songs we're going to do. And I've been recording vocals. That has been incredibly fun. I haven't done that in a while. And it feels good to, in a way, virtually get the band back together. And I don't know, it's so I'm getting things done, extraneous things. I'm working on a documentary, as I've mentioned to you, about Japanese Green Bay Packer fans coming to watch a game in Green Bay. And that is coming along slowly, but it's coming along better than it has in a long time. And I think it's because I feel like I have more confidence to work on it. I have more confidence to work on these extraneous things rather than be like, well, I have to work on the main thing right now. I have to work on the main thing. Even though it's also important to keep the main thing is something I talked about in the last week's video. But I can work on these other things without worrying about it because I have it written down. I know how much time I have. It seems simple. It seems so, and like it seems like it'll be a minor change. And it I guess it isn't super life changing. I don't feel like necessarily I'm getting way more done. On the other hand, I am getting way more done when it comes to the extraneous things, and I feel in general like I have less stress. So I think it's a good thing. I'm also not even like doing a lot. It's a pretty little bit in this journal. Like, it's just basically, I've mapped out January, I've mapped out 2021, I've mapped out this week, but only with like the main stuff that needs to get done. And that's it, really. I'm not even like, and then I'm check marking when I run in a day or when I read. I'm not writing down things afterwards, like how I feel about it or anything like that. It's not like an actual like diary entry. But it's yet somehow working. Even that minor bit is working. I am starting to schedule my days pretty meticulously with a different app. So yes, in addition to writing down in the journal, when the day comes about, I'm planning out. So like the journal basically goes down to week, like this week, these tasks. So I'll go each day, this day, these tasks, this day, these tasks. But it's usually just 1 or 2 tasks each day. I'm not going through the entire day of what I could possibly do. And then the night before, in a separate app, I go into the day by hour, what I could do. I don't usually follow it that well, but I do follow it a little, and I think it helps for sure to get things done. Doing what I do, which is multiple things, being my own boss, and each project is like not just a single one-off task, but like a part of a bigger project. It really helps to have that constant reminder of all the ongoing things I have. Because in the moment during the day, especially if I'm tired, I don't think of it. Things fall by the wayside because I'm not thinking of it. If I look at the schedule, I'm like, oh yeah, I could work on that. And then I'll have a moment where I'm like, do I want to work on that? And often I'm like, yeah, actually I do. So then I'll go work on it. If I wouldn't have looked at that, I wouldn't be doing it. So that helps. So to go back to what I was talking about before, when I was talking about looking at the news and just like spending a lot of time on things that really I have no effect on. There's this phrase that I come across pretty often when you're talking about dealing with stress and anxiety, or a lot of productivity issues, a lot of things, getting things done, and that is focus on the things that you can control. I think that might be in the title of this one. Last week, I talked for the first 15 minutes about the title of the video and about titling videos, even though that wasn't in the title of the video. And many of you pointed that out, and well, I pointed that out, I think, in the video. And it was fun. I enjoyed it. And a lot of you, I was talking about the importance of closure and how that in a title wouldn't draw the eye. And then a lot of you pointed out, well, I would have clicked on that. Yeah, I think a lot of people might. I wasn't saying it wouldn't appeal to everybody. But now that I think about it, maybe that is a good title. Maybe I don't know. For my audience, because I talk about productivity issues and storytelling and other things that closure applies to. So maybe it would work. I don't know. I make it up as I go along. I sit and I think pretty hard about what I think a good title is. I often get it wrong. But focusing on what you can control. Bullet journaling actually helps with that, because it's just a big list of specific things that I have to do or want to do. And it's all about doing, not about worrying, reading about terrible events, every perspective about it and opinion about it all day long, rather than doing anything. And I was trying to make a list of things you can control to list for this video. And I came across several articles where people listed things. But I wanted to simplify it and narrow it down. And really, it all narrows down to two things you can control: your thoughts and your actions. That's it. Like anything else you come up with, probably, maybe you can make a good argument otherwise, but it probably will fall under thoughts or actions, depending on how you define actions, I guess. Some people might say talking isn't an action. I would say it is. Saying something is an action. And thoughts, depending on because emotions you could say are different than thoughts. I'm just going to put it under the category of thoughts. And also, there's debate about how many of your thoughts you can control, or how many of your actions you can control. Like, in one list, people said one thing you can control is your breathing. Yeah, you can, most of the time. I have asthma. Sometimes that's an issue. Your thoughts, you have a subconscious mind that has lots of things going on that are out of your control, and maybe you can arguably affect them through various actions, but I don't know. The point is, by and large, the only things you can control are your thoughts and actions. And it's important to focus on what you can control and try not to focus on anything else. Because That's needless worry. You can't control what others do, what others say, how others react. You can control how you react. And that's something a lot of people should focus on, is how they react to something. Like, something terrible can happen, but how you react is what really matters. And sometimes it's really hard to not react a certain way, depending on the thing that's happening. But if you can just focus on what you control. I'm afraid of flying a little bit, like a little bit of flight anxiety. And I think a lot of that comes from lack of control. So that's a tricky one for me. If I'm on an airplane and I try to focus on what I control, I'm just reminded of the things that are out of my control. And it's hard to be like, well, I'm on this airplane. Whatever happens, happens. I can only control how I feel right now. And even that, I can't. Usually, fear is a hard one to overcome. But, I can control my breathing. I can control what I'm going to say to the people around me, how I'm going to behave, what I'm going to watch, what I'm going to do to take my mind off of it. When you're looking at the news, when you're reading hot takes about terrible things that are happening, just reading about terrible things that are happening, most of the time, it's out of your control. We spend an awful lot of time, it seems, commenting on, talking about, getting angry with people about things that are out of our control. Trying to change people's minds, trying to change the topic of conversation, when the way others respond or react to what we say is out of our control. We only control what we say. Sometimes we say really dumb things, and others will respond in unkind ways to those dumb things we said. Well, how they respond, that's not in our control. And if you find yourself in a situation, and if you find yourself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom. Focus on what you can control. Try to think about what's out of your control in that moment. Try to think about what you can control, so that you take your mind off. I'm not saying it's always going to work, but a good way to take your mind off your worries, worrying about how someone else is behaving, what someone else is doing with their own lives, or what they're saying, or how a company that you work for is going down the tubes, or any impending terrible thing that's happening. A pandemic. You can sit there and pine over it and worry about it and think about how things are bad. But that's not going to change anything. And I'm not saying you have to go change anything either. But sitting and pining over something that's bad, that could possibly just continue to be bad, completely out of your control, is not going to help you. So, start thinking about what you can control. I think it's so easy to get fixated on one thing, when at any given moment, most of the time, there's infinite possibilities of what you can do or think. Even though it seems in the moment when you're fixated that there's only one thing. If you're worried, if you're sad, you don't have to sit there and think about your worry or your sadness. You can, I'm not saying this is always going to work. Sometimes things are really hard, but you can go read a book that you've never read before. So a type of book you've never read before. You can go for a walk. You can go exercise. You can go make a food that. And this is I'm not saying just distract yourself from the feeling. It's important to process emotions as well, but fixating for a long time on one thing, or an argument, a societal argument, a political argument, just constantly being on that wavelength of this is the way these people are, this is the way this thing always happens, it always happens this way. That's a way of giving up. That's a way of getting upset about something that is out of your control. And not helpful. It's hard to, I guess, get at what I'm saying, but I think a lot of you get it. Obsessing over one issue that bothers you, in general, it's not going to be good for you. And a way out of it, I think, is to ask yourself, truly, what can I control here? I can control my anxiety. I can go meditate. I can go do some controlled breathing. Realize that there's more to life than this one thing that I'm thinking about all the time. And that, yeah, whatever's happening might be bad. It might lead to bad things. But there's no guarantee of that. And maybe I can do something useful in some other aspect of life or society. I'm talking in very broad terms here because I don't, because this can apply to so many things. but basically, if you find yourself in times of trouble, ask yourself what you control. Look very closely at what you can control. And maybe sometimes it's not a lot. It's usually probably is, but it maybe not about that one specific thing. Maybe that means you need to stop thinking about it. I don't know if that helped anyone, what I just said. I'm just a guy standing in his backyard in the snow, walking around, talking about my thoughts and stuff. I think that's about it, isn't it? The snow is pretty, isn't it? That'll be one thing I talk about in my why do people like living in cold places, even though I will say, yeah, it's pretty, so what? It's cold out here. I'd rather not have to bundle up to go outside all the time. That's one of the worst things for me about it is having to, I can't just walk outside. Every time we go outside, it's a process. Got to get my boots on. I got to get my coat on, my gloves, my hat. Ada needs her coat and gloves and hat and boot. Ada doesn't even like going outside right now because it's such a process for her. But yet, the weather and how cold it is something I can't control. So maybe I should just shut up. I can control where I live, I guess, to an extent, and we chose here. So I'm just going to live with it. And I don't mean to complain about it. It's just the video I'm working on. So, how are you doing? That's about it. I do these kind of videos every single weekday on Patreon. This is my second channel, by the way. My main channel is Wheezy Waiter. I've seen some comments from people occasionally on this channel where it seems like they think that it's my main channel and they're speaking as if like I'm worried or as if my audience is smaller than it used to be, or and yeah, this channel, this is just my second channel, you guys, Not that it's just my second channel. I shouldn't say it like that. This is my second channel where I do unedited, whatever the hell I want. On Mondays, where I talk for a while. And that's it. No tricks, no gimmicks, no gags. Sometimes, if I want to, but usually not. I'm not that interested in that these days. These days I like turning the camera on and just having a talk. Just speaking what's on my mind. Being myself. Being real. Because that doesn't happen enough. Where people are just real. At least, I don't think so. Maybe it's happening more and more these days. I'm not an expert. I don't watch everything that's out there. But I think it's good for the world to have real talk, you know? You know what I'm saying? So, that's about it. I believe I can fly. I broke into song last time and someone said they wanted me to break into song at the end of every video, so that was the song that came to mind. R. Kelly's not the greatest example. I shouldn't have gone with that, but that's what came to my head. Sorry about that. Wow, let's try something else. How about, all the single ladies. Okay, that'll do. Thank you for watching. Bye.